Thank you, Dale. Welcome, everyone. We're so delighted that you are here with us to honor our veterans on this Veterans Day. I would like to ask everybody who is a veteran of the United States military to please stand so we can recognize you for your service. Please stand. Thank you. Thank you for your service, your dedication, and your commitment. And now I would like to ask everybody who has been a mother, a grandmother, a father, a grandfather, a sister, or a brother, or an aunt and uncle, or cousin, which I think is going to be almost everybody in this room, please stand and so we can recognize you. Thank you. For those of us who have put children or family members on airplanes or told them goodbye, I've been the mother of a daughter who was in the Army. I can also recognize the different emotions that all of us go through as we do make that commitment of honoring all of you here tonight. As I was sitting here going, okay, what am I going to talk about? All of a sudden it came to mind. I remember a story one morning. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was, at that time lived in Iowa, and I used to fly this one airline all the time, and I would check in, and this guy that would check me in never would show any emotion. Like, I would try to make him happy, sometimes I'd be angry. I mean, this guy was just steely. There was nothing that he ever showed. So every couple weeks, and one morning, about 5 o'clock, I look over and I'm going to drop my bag off, and he is just tearing up. I go, are you okay? He goes, yeah, I'll be okay in a moment. Thanks for asking. He goes, it just tears me up when I see military moms and dads drop off their children, or sometimes going to basic training, and that they and the whole family has made that commitment to military service. So after that, we had a relationship, and we would talk about his experience seeing families. And I remember my 17-year-old daughter going off to the military. She didn't know what she was doing, obviously, and just the courage that it takes for every one of us who have been part of someone's lives when they have that call to serve, and they serve. And then it also had me reflecting on a number of places that I've been, that are places that are really memories where many people have given their lives. Arlington National Cemetery, of course, the bridge over River Kwai, the Battle of the Bulge, Iwo Jima, Hanoi, Jalalabad, Fallujah. These are all cities and places that I've been where I know people, many people, our service people, have lost their lives in doing that honor for us to protect our democracy and our liberty. And so for all of you who served, and for all of you who've been family members, for all of you tonight, thank you for being here as we honor our veterans. Would you all please now rise as the color guard comes in.
Mark. Forward. Mark. Left. 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 Mark time. Mark. Detail. Halt. Post the colors. Present. Halt. left, 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 right.
Thank you. You may be seated. Good evening. Before we set the table, I would like to read a history of the POW MIA Remembrance Table. The Missing Man Table originated during the Vietnam War as a symbol of missing and captive service members. All known American prisoners of war, or POWs, were released in 1973, following the Paris Peace Agreement between North Vietnam, South Vietnam, and the United States. While the agreement ended the war, open wounds were left in America's national consciousness. An unpopular war in America, the Vietnam War brought hard times to our veterans. A group called the Red River Valley Fighter Pilots Association, or the River Rats as they called themselves, set the first POW MIA Remembrance Table. During the war, this daring group of airmen came from different branches of the American Armed Forces. They took their names from missions flown into North Vietnam and the combat zone surrounding Hanoi along the Red River. In the spirit of that brotherhood, the River Rats pledged themselves to taking care of their own and having reunions once the war ended and the POWs came home, but initially held practice reunions while still in Southeast Asia and America. It was at the first practice reunion that the POW MIA table was set in remembrance of falling and missing comrades. Following the war, the tradition made its way into all military dining ceremonies. As the ceremonies, a series of toasts are made before being seated to eat. Sometimes the items on the table vary. We've seen several different ways that this table is set. But the ceremony is always a touching tribute to America's finest and bravest men and women, those who wait and hope and believe in the dream of freedom within every breath they take on foreign soil, and whose memories live beyond the chains of their prisons. This ceremony is rich in military tradition as we honor those men and women of our armed forces who, in defense of the freedoms of our country and that of the free world, are unaccounted for and are classified as prisoners of war or missing in action. We will now set the table. The table is round to show that our concern for them is never ending. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms so that their children can remain free. Let us take a moment to remember these men and women, prisoners of war from all branches of service. Thank you. The candle symbolizes the frailty of a prisoner alone trying to stand up against his oppressors. The red ribbon on that candle reminds us of those not coming home. The single red rose reminds us of the loved ones and the families of our heroes and comrades in arms who keep the faith and await their return. The yellow ribbon on the rose vase represents the love of our country, which inspired them to answer the nation's call. The red napkin stands for the emptiness
these warriors have left in the hearts of their families and their friends. A slice of lemon is placed on the plate to remind us of their bitter fate if we do not bring them home. The salt is shaken on the table, symbolizing the family's tears as they wait and remember. The glass is inverted, reminding us that our distinguished heroes and your comrades, neighbors, friends cannot be with us to drink a toast or join in the festivities this evening. The faded picture on the table is a reminder that they are missed very much and are remembered by their families, their friends, and their comrades. The empty chair depicts an unknown face representing no specific soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, or Coast Guardsman, but are all here with us this evening. Remember those whom we depended on in battle, and they depend on us to bring them home. The POW MIA chair cover is placed on the chair to mourn the fact that many of our heroes and our loved ones will not return to our shores, and to pay tribute to their passing. As we look upon this empty table, do not remember the ghosts from the past, but remember our heroes and comrades. The American flag represents all those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. As we look upon this empty table, remember our heroes and their families. Now again, they depend on us to bring them home. By setting this table tonight on Veterans Day, we honor our military from all wars and conflicts. Never forget their sacrifice, never forget their families' sacrifice. At the end of the program tonight, the candle will be extinguished. Take that light with you. You keep it in your heart and remember.
Good evening.
Amen.
Our student conductor for the song For the Beauty of the Earth is Heather Cowden. Heather is a senior here at UMC and is double majoring in animal science and equine science. I have gotten to know her these past few years through choir and the trap team. Last week we traveled to Illinois for the National Trap Championship. There she placed 11th female overall and shot a 50 straight on the second day of the tournament. In addition to choir and trap, she's also the president of the Swing Dance Club, vice president of the Animal Science Association, and vice president of Agorama. Please join me in welcoming Heller to conduct For the Beauty of the Earth.
She is double majoring in equine science and ag business with a minor in music. Eliza has been involved in the last 3 musical productions and is a member of choir, band, and the orchestra. Eliza is the captain on our Western Equestrian team, where I've gotten to know her as a person, a friend, and a horsewoman. I have had the honor of singing the national anthem with her this weekend at our equestrian show. She is an amazing person, so please welcome Eliza to conduct the song, You Raise Me Up.
My name is Sarah Clowater. I'm the school certifying official for the University of Minnesota Crookston. I work directly with our active duty and veteran students on a daily basis. Tonight I have the opportunity to introduce to you our speaker. For our speaker, was commissioned as an officer in the United States Air Force. She served as a payload system operator for the 2nd Space Operations Squadron at Schrafer Air Force Base, a nuclear combat crew commander at the Minot Air Force Base, a duty crew commander for the Missile Warning Center at Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station, and is currently pursuing a career in accounting and finance. Please help me welcome your speaker for tonight, Elizabeth Medlin.
Good evening, everyone. I have to say this is a change of venue for me. I'm usually in the audience as a student, listening to other people teach me all sorts of information. But it is my pleasure tonight to present to you a small project that I was asked to do to honor Veterans Day. I was actually asked to dig up some information on some notable women veterans. And so this turned out to be a really fun project, and I learned a lot of really good information, and I would very much like to share these women with you. Their lives are truly remarkable. So the first person that we're going to be looking at tonight is Private Kathy Williams. I think there's supposed to be a picture. There we go. So as you can see, Kathy Williams is actually dressed in a Union Army uniform. She was actually born in 1844. She was born a slave. She actually grew up in Independence, Missouri, and was serving on the Jefferson Plantation when the Union Army came into Missouri and occupied it early in the Civil War. So after she was freed, she actually decided she wanted to help serve in the Union military, in the Union Army, and she wanted to help bring freedom to other people across the nation. Unfortunately, at that time, women were prohibited from serving in the military. So Kathy Williams decided that she was going to become William Kathy for the purpose of enlisting in the Army. And strangely enough, she passed the medical exam. I don't think they looked very closely. Unfortunately, Kathy contracted smallpox shortly after enlisting, and so she had to stay in the hospital and recover while her unit transitioned out to New Mexico, where they were helping with the Western frontier. She did actually catch up with her unit when she was in New Mexico, but smallpox really took a toll on her, and so she was in and out of the hospital frequently while she was out there. Unfortunately, on one of those hospital stays, somebody discovered, one of the doctors, that William Kathy was Kathy Williams. So she was actually discharged from the Army and by her commanding officer in 1868. She continued to live in the Southern Rockies for the rest of her life, passing away sometime in 1893. In 2018, however, the National Infantry Museum did honor Kathy for her service, and she actually has a monument bench that's been set up there, and it was unveiled in 2018. Our next distinguished lady is Colonel Mary Halloran. So Mary was born in 1907 in Lowell, Massachusetts. She graduated from the Lowell State Teachers College and was teaching junior high for 15 years before World War II kicked off. This lady had an entire career before she answered her nation's call. Now, she was a very petite woman, and so when she reported to try to enlist in the Women's Auxiliary Corps, the person she was talking to asked her, well, what do you think a woman of your size can do to help the military? And of course, she had a lot of cheek, and she responded with, you don't have to be 6 feet tall to have a brain that works. She needed that cheek, and it served her well. So she ended up actually commanding all of the Women Auxiliary Corps troops in the European theater by the end of the war. Furthermore, when the Women's Auxiliary Corps was fully incorporated with the regular Army, she was the first woman to serve as an Army officer. She was actually given a designation L1, and she was the first female officer that we had in the U.S. Army. Spoilers for a little bit later, my mother was actually starting out in the Women's Auxiliary Corps when they finally disbanded that and made women part of the regular Army. So Our next distinguished lady is Lieutenant General Susan Helms. Now, Susan is part of the more modern era of the military. She was born in 1958 in Charlotte, North Carolina. She graduated from the U.S. Air Force Academy in 1980 as a member of the very first class of cadets to include females. She worked as a weapons separation engineer for both the F-15 and the F-16 fighter jets, both incredible platforms. But I am also Air Force, so I am slightly biased. She was selected to pursue a master's degree of science in aeronautics and astronautics at Stanford University before going out to Edwards Air Force Base to work as a flight test engineer. She got noticed by NASA there, and as you can see in the photo there, they liked what they saw, and so they recruited her to join the NASA's astronaut program. She served with NASA for 12 years and then had 211 days in space. So she was a very impressive lady. When she did return to the Air Force, she served in the U.S. Space Command as a division chief for the Space Superiority Division and the 45th Space Wing Vice Commander. That was the point that I actually met her. So when I was serving, I was a brand new lieutenant. I knew nothing, didn't really have a whole lot of experience. And here comes in this lady that I'd heard about. It was like meeting a legend in real life. That was so freaking cool. Okay. And then she did retire as a lieutenant general from the Air Force in 2014. A woman achieving a 3-star general rank, that in and of itself is impressive. Our last person, of course, of note is Captain Bernice Armour. I have to give a nod to the Marines because we can't leave them out. So I will say this, Bernice is a genuine American badass. So as I found out more information about her, I was thoroughly impressed. She was born in 1973 in Chicago, raised in Memphis, Tennessee. She did attend Middle Tennessee State University, and she started out her potential military career enrolling in the Army ROTC program. However, she also had another life passion that she really wanted to pursue. So get this. She left college before finishing left college to go join the Nashville Police Department and be a part of their motorcycle squad. She did that for several years. However, she still felt that tug to join the military, and so she ended up going back to school, finishing her degree, and then she decided instead of the Army, because, I guess she was too tough for the Army. I don't know. Sorry to any Army veterans out there. So she decided she wanted to become a Marine officer candidate in 1998. She did go to flight school, and she earned her wings in 2001, graduated the top of her class, and she became the Marine Corps' first African-American female pilot. Of course, she didn't just pilot anything, she had to pilot the AH-1W Super Cobra. So she's going into combat with a helicopter. Very cool. And also, oh, by the way, because that's just not enough, she also won the Camp Pendleton's annual Strongest Warrior competition twice. So in March 2003, she did go into combat during the invasion of Iraq and completed 2 combat tours in the Gulf. And then in 2007, she separated from active duty, and she has now become a professional speaker and a published author. And get this, she teaches people how to achieve the impossible dreams that they have, because she's done it. So for someone who speaks from experience, just very impressive lady. So now we are going to be moving to the United States Armed Forces salute. With all of the veterans in the audience, you guys know what time it is. When you hear your song for your branch of service, please stand up and be recognized. Is this on? There we go. All right. That was great. I absolutely love the music. It makes my heart turn every single time. So one other thing I was asked to talk about today is women's role in the military today. And of course, because I'm a history buff, I always think it's important to understand, if you want to know where we are today, you have to understand where we came from. So I'm sure that everybody in here is aware that women have had some kind of involvement in military conflicts for as long as we have had any kind of a conflict. If you look at the United States, we're no exception. If you go back all the way to the Revolutionary War, you had women like Deborah Sampson and Sally St. Clair who would disguise themselves as men so that they could go out and fight the British. Pretty cool. Same thing with Kathy Williams, who we talked about earlier. When we got to World War I, women were able to actually serve in a more open role, albeit in more of a support role when it came to military conflict. A lot of them were working in resistance work, espionage behind enemy lines, and then also a lot of women were helping out with medical work. In fact, fun fact, did you know Marie Curie, the Nobel laureate, she actually saw the need for field radiological centers during World War I. And so she understood that they needed to have that near the front line to help assist battlefield surgeons. So this Nobel laureate, who was responsible for finding radium, ended up studying both radiology, anatomy, and automotive mechanics. And then she also procured X-ray equipment, vehicles, and auxiliary generators to create mobile radiography units. What ended up happening as a result of this is a lot of men who otherwise would have lost their limbs because the battlefield surgeons couldn't determine what needed to stay and what needed to go. A lot of them were able to retain their limbs because of Marie Curie's efforts in World War I. In World War II, women took a more active role providing direct support in combat theaters, like Mary Halloran, who we talked about earlier. As we've continued through history, women have made steady progress and inroads in integration into the United States military. My own mother, as I had mentioned earlier, when she first started out, she was a part of the Women's Auxiliary Corps, the Women's Army Corps, and then when they did away with the Women's Army Corps and fully integrated women into the active force, she ended up training as one of the first explosive ordnance disposal commanders. And she commanded her own unit for a couple of years before separating from the military. So if you ever have any wonders about why I might be the way I am, she might have been exposed to some stuff. That's the ongoing story. So nowadays, there are a few areas in the military where women have not fully integrated. And that's the military that I ended up going into. We've been trusted with high-value assets and extreme levels of responsibility on par with the men that we serve alongside. For my own experience and in my time in the Air Force, I worked on satellite systems, I worked on the intercontinental ballistic missile systems. I still, to this day, cannot believe that they entrusted a 22-year-old know-nothing with a $2.4 billion satellite system. What were they thinking? Oh my gosh. It still takes my breath away. However, to be fair, it also took the breath away of a lot of the Russian officers who came over whenever we had START inspections. So START, for those of you who don't know, it's the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. And so when I was working on ICBMs, we would have Russian officers come over to inspect our sites to make sure that we were keeping things safe and secure the way we were supposed to. Apparently in Russia, they don't entrust their ICBMs to young people, they entrust them to very senior officers, and when they see 20-somethings running around controlling the missiles, they get a little nervous. I'm not nervous though. Having gone through the training, I know just how capable they are, and they are very capable people. So, one of the things that also really kind of took my breath away was they actually entrusted me acting as the eyes in the sky when I was working in Cheyenne Mountain Complex. So with that, I was watching for any kind of rocket launch all over the globe, 24/7. And then I immediately had to report it so that people in higher chains of command could react accordingly. So in all of that time, did I encounter any difficulties or did I face any discriminations because I was a woman? There was a little bit, but it wasn't anything that really bothered me much. We've become that integrated that those sorts of situations are few and far between now. So what does the future hold for women in the military? I'm not entirely sure, but I do have a long dream. I hope that I live long enough to be able to watch and raise a champagne toast to the first woman Space Force officer setting her foot on Mars. I want to thank you again for coming tonight and have a wonderful evening, and I believe that next we have our benediction.
some solos throughout. And our featured soloists are our veterans that are in the ensemble here this evening.
All right, so one of the fun things this evening, we had our honor flight table that was out down in the rotunda. If you have the opportunity to stop by, please do on your way out. But they also had a quote raffle. So anybody who had purchased a ticket, they're going to go ahead and announce the winner tonight.
You want to reach and grab one? I want to thank everybody coming tonight. My name's Don Roberts. I'm with the Honor Flight for about 8 years. I was in the Marine Corps for 20-some years, and 2 tours in Vietnam and 1 in Korea. So thank you, each and every you.
The winner is Nancy Knox. Are you here?
She's from Fisher.
She's from Fisher, but she won.
All right, thank you.
I also wanted just to make sure to thank a couple of people that were not in the program. Monica, she helped with some of the volunteers, so I wanted to make sure to thank her. And the art piece downstairs is from Briley Lassard. She's the one who created that piece, and it's just a beautiful art piece. So I wanted to make sure that they are well recognized.
Let's make sure that we thank the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon Committee. Thank you again this year for coming and doing our POW MIA table.
And also the
And also the poppies, yes. So that was an exciting new touch that we had this year. So thank you for doing that as well. And there is on the back of your program a list of thank yous that need to be acknowledged because they have put in a lot of time and energy into making this program successful for you tonight.
So without further ado, we're going to ask everyone to stand for the accidental color card.
Flag detail. Forward, march. Forward, march. Left, 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 flat. Left, left. March time, march. Detail, halt. Retreat the colors. Forward, march. Left, 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 right. Left, 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 right.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great night. Thank you for coming out with us.